Hey, what's going on? It's your boy Joe Thunder back once again with another episode of the Smoking Joe Thunder podcast. And we're on episode 1.5 million. If you don't fucking know, man, we're fucking everywhere hitting you with that hot Dylon fire. You know what I'm saying? But shout out real quick to our official sponsor, Be Good Dispensaries over there on 11 West Hampden. Or if you're up north, you can catch them on 120th across the highway from Boondocks. And like I said, we got another banger for you today. We're about to drop a lot of history, a lot of Denver history, and we're just going to talk about all kinds of random crazy shit. But we got Payer, the fucking Slayer, AE, Aliens crew.
What up, what up?
Lencho, the man, right next to him.
Big Lencho.
How y'all doing?
Good, man. Good.
Kind of cold outside.
No, it's getting there. It's getting there.
Trying to stay warm.
Kind of cold for a pimp. Shit,
it's getting hard out there.
Tell me about it, bro. Fucking Gatorades are $2.
Yeah.
And fucking trying to think what else. Everything I bought the other day from the store was like $5, bro.
Damn.
Like macaroni, $5.
Yeah.
Fucking
Macaroni?
I swear.
I just had SpaghettiOs right now. Shit was,
I know. I hear you're the SpaghettiOs king, or what? Is that true?
he loves
I just get random cravings of SpaghettiOs.
Why is that?
Well, and then I've been kind of dieting lately, and
On SpaghettiOs?
they're like less than 200 calories.
That doesn't sound like a healthy diet right there, SpaghettiOs, bro.
It's a good. That's only 200. It's like almost 200 calories, bro. Like that ain't shit.
And you carry a can with you, or?
I don't carry a can with me like it's
You
like
do it
I'm,
like you're
like,
also-
I'm armed and dangerous with SpaghettiOs.
Well, I'm
and
gonna
shit.
say, like, you know how your dad would do back in the day, have like a can of SpaghettiOs with the fucking army fucking can opener and shit. You know what I mean? Put it on the fucking carburetor to heat up and shit.
I was on that.
Nah, I pulled over at a gas station, and the Maverick keeps some stock in case anyone wanted
Like in a
Wants to know.
microwavable one, or what?
the can, the old school
okay.
cans.
How you heat that shit up or do you eat it
SpaghettiOs. I
cold?
don't, bro. You eat that shit like some post-apocalyptic fucking shit right there, man.
We went the other day, man. Like I didn't really take it serious, but I remember
It's a treat.
a couple weeks ago at night, I think right after we were painting the train or something like that, we were at a gas station looking for SpaghettiOs, and they were out.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh yeah, you'll see
I'm
it.
addicted to that shit, bro. I'm like 5 years old forever.
Well, shit, I'm gonna start keeping a case of SpaghettiOs in the fucking whip in case, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you never know.
You know, he might have like a canvas or something. He might be feeding that bad where I can give him like 5 cans of
We're getting
SpaghettiOs
old,
or
man.
some
We're getting
shit,
old.
You know what I mean?
So,
Getting old.
I'm stuck in my ways, though.
Hell yeah. Hey, well, shit, man. Thanks for coming on
Yeah,
the show,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
Kinda
dude, no
tell them
problem,
who you
no
are
problem.
Real quick. This is your first time. You know, it ain't your first time, actually.
I did a couple of them
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think we were one of the first ones, the first guest here.
Yeah,
we were the
actual
first one.
first podcast we ever did.
Yeah. What's up? I'm Payer, AE crew, Aliens crew, Denver, Colorado native.
Right? You've been doing hip hop for a fucking long ass time, right?
Shit, for a long time. I say probably 7th grade. A little late, a little like summer of 7th grade. I got into it. We were in a little gang, a little Northside gang, me and my
shit.
buddies. But we were mad serious, bro.
Y'all
Like
by
I look.
Chubby's? Y'all go to Chubby's or
Yeah,
what?
yeah, but like shit, man. Back then, now that I look back, I'm like, fuck, we were 6th graders thinking we were hardcore or whatever. But anyway, starting 7th grade, I was just chilling, talking to one of my classmates, and he had a piece book, and he was drawing, and I was like, hey, let me check that out, and from that, it's just got me, man. Like I start looking at all the pieces, and him telling me the rules and
Who was
whatever.
the cat with that first book?
Some
Remember?
homeboy named Ick One. He was some Puerto Rican cat at my school, and he was from Chicago.
Okay.
So so he straight up introduced me to graffiti, and through that piece book, and then after that I was just hooked, man.
For real?
Yep. But since then it's been all about hip hop,
What kind of other hip hop are you into? Because I'm sure you were into the music, the dance, and everything. You come from that generation where you did everything, then you figured out what you liked or what you were good at.
Well, I say at that time it was just all around me. It was like the vibe. It was things around me. It was just that, man. Like when got into graffiti was like my intro into the scene. But as I ventured off into the scene, because that night, like it all happened one night. Like after being introduced to it at school or whatnot, a couple months later, we went to go hit a train, and I didn't even know what I was about to do. I didn't know what a train yard was, you know what I mean?
No
like
idea.
I just thought, so I was in 7th grade. So we went, we were probably 4 deep. I was there with Core 2 Rock, a couple other homeboys.
Were they older than you?
They were older. And then so we went, we were painting broad daylight. We were getting down, and Probably for a couple hours, dude. And I looked around and I saw these little 4-wheelers coming our way. And I'm like, hey, homie, there comes some 4-wheelers. And he's like, I'll just post up. It's chill. And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah, just as long as we don't go over the numbers, we're chill. And I was like, all right, cool. Before you know it, we were fucking hemmed up by like a dozen people, a dozen trained police and workers or whatnot. And they fucking just gave us a ticket and just let us go. I mean, this was back in the 90s.
Right.
So we took a ride from that. We went and walked through the east side because they released us.
I was gonna say, where were you guys at? Were you
This is the big yard on Washington, in up there off Washington.
by
And,
McDonald's?
Yep, that one right there, the
Okay.
big BNSF yard. So after that night, we went for a little walk or whatever. After getting caught going through the east side or whatever, we go to this place called the Spot, and it was an old boys and girls club or
Hip-hop
whatever.
spot,
Yep,
yeah.
yep. So we went up in there. It was probably around 11 at night, man, and we
That shit
got
was still open,
It was
or what?
open.
God damn.
And motherfuckers were breakdancing. People were painting downstairs. All this whole scene was
going
going on.
down.
It was going down, and I was like, "Damn, is this it? Is this the whole scene?" Yeah. But yeah, since then it's been on and cracking, dude.
Did you meet a lot of people that night?
Yeah. No, I seen who was it? Voice. Voice was painting a Chicano piece. It said Chicano, and it had a character on the side. But back then, graffiti was way different than what it is now. You know, Voice was painting some. I mean, he's cool now. You know, I enjoy his shit. But back then, bro, he was on some good like wild style type shit. You know what I mean? Some type of like some Chicano shit.
Right.
It was
Some
pretty
kind
good.
of, like you said, wild stuff, Mr. Chicano shit.
And I think Emit was there. He was doing one of his early pieces with like the moon craters and whatnot. So at that time, he was the cat that came, and he had all these techniques and all these little fades and everything that we never seen before. And me being a beginner, that shit was like going to the moon. You know, I was like, God damn. You know, he was like the first alien type motherfucker that I ever met that was
Right.
from out of this world. But yeah, with that and growing up with a lot of b-boys and whatnot. So I was just right in the middle, you know. So I never broke, you know, never did any b-boying or anything, but I was always a big fan.
Right. What was some of the first rap music that you listened to, that you heard?
Spice One.
Was
The
it
Fat Boys.
Was it the blue tape?
It was the Blue Tape.
It's first shit.
Yep, Kid Sensation.
For real, huh?
Yeah, remember that?
I see that bass. Back in the day, bass was the shit. Remember?
Oh,
Sir
yeah,
Mix-a-Lot
yeah.
had bass. Kiss Sensation
Nemesis.
had bass. Nemesis had bass. Even
The bass
E.G.
tapes. Remember the bass tapes with nothing but bass?
Yeah, everlasting
Ah.
bass. Some Magic Mike.
Ron C, all that.
She's throwing it back now with the Ron C,
Oh.
man. I remember all that shit.
But that shit was all around me too, you know, because a lot of my older relatives, they were just into a lot of gangs or whatnot. But then I had some older relatives that were into breakdancing in the 80s. So just, you know, being around that, seeing them breakdancing when I was 11 or whatnot. And, you know, I always was drawing it. You know, I was like attracted to it, but not until 7th grade, man, getting introduced to graffiti and, you know, being introduced to that whole lifestyle, breakdancing and
Right.
MCing.
You said hip hop isn't the way it was back then. What's the difference? I mean, kind of tell them what you see nowadays.
I think it's. I think people ain't they're not in love with it anymore. You know what I mean? Like even
It's like
music.
it's like a quick fix, like instant
Even music
success.
now, even with the music now, you see a lot of old hooks, a lot of recycled shit from back in the day.
But they were doing that back in the day. Puffy was doing that shit. We still rock to it.
But now I see fools saying an old verse. You know what I mean? Like doing an old verse from somebody else,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean?
That's a
and
little too much.
And that's the same shit with graffiti or what, you know, it's like very watered down. And back in the day, you really had a lot of passion for it. You know what I'm saying? Like you really go do a spot and you push it to the limit. Now it seems like watered down, just in graffiti in general, you know,
And everything.
just in everything. So like in hip hop in general.
I think I seen this on one of the podcasts today. We've been talking about it a little bit. Like back in the day, like you had to go seek out hip hop.
Yeah.
You had to go get it. Like now, it's all on your phone. You don't have to do anything.
It was so underground.
You don't have to go see. You know, like if you want to see a cipher, you'd have to go to a cipher. You know what I mean? And see motherfuckers battle. Like now, you can
Exactly.
just go on your phone. Same with graffiti. You know what I mean? Everything's right there. So it's like way watered down, like you said. You know what I mean?
Well, kids ain't trying, you know, even in the rap shit, they're not trying to be something else, be something different. They're just trying to ride some old shit,
Some
you know what I mean?
wave.
Some waves. So
You know what I mean?
It's kind of watered down.
Hey, do you remember what have you always written Pay, or what was the first
I
couple
wrote
names?
Pale, my first name was Eamon.
Amen. How'd you come up with that shit?
No, well, my first name was Silent One. I was in 7th grade, you know, after meeting Homeboy and everything, and I was Silent One, went to Amin, Amin, and then I wrote MT1 for a bit. But when I wrote MT1, it was more on some bombing shit. I was kind of coming out my shell as far as just being stuck on, like, just pieces and trains. That's my first love in graffiti was the train. I mean, the train was like my second time ever painting was on a train. So that right there is like a whole different other level. Trains or whatnot, like you could be doing, you know, highways, downtown or whatever, but trains is like its own little world. It's its own little scene. That's where it's at for me.
Right.
And that's what got me good was doing a lot of trains at an early age. It taught me like hand control. It taught me how to make something under pressure. Like I grew up painting over rails and screws and all that. You know, and I find myself painting with somebody sometimes throughout, you know, my career where they're complaining about something on the wall, you know, like a ledge or a pipe, and I'm like,
Something in the way.
yeah, and I'm like,
You're like, just deal with it,
you little
fuck.
fucking pansy.
Don't get him started.
Yeah, so like trains kind of get you going, man. It's, you know, that's my best advice for anybody that's getting into graffiti is paint a lot of trains. They'll teach you the in and outs. They'll teach you can control. It like humbles you.
Do you have a favorite top 2 trains you like to paint?
I'd say Golden West was a good classic. They're nice, fucking royal blue, fucking flat train, very low, and it was great. But they started taking them off the lines probably like 10 years ago or whatnot. So that, and probably any auto racks. I love auto racks. But now with the reefer trains and all them coming up, it's crazy now. But yeah, pretty much the Golden West is probably my number 1.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever like painted like an auto rack and there's cars in there? Or you kind of, I mean,
Hardly, no, not
will you
really.
get- I mean, will they come back? Will that shit come back to like fucking blow up the shit? You know what I mean?
Well, like it's all a business. Trains and the transporting system, it's a business. They really don't care about too much of the vandalism, but they do care of you
About the cargo.
painting the cargo, and with that, it causes attention to that spot because of insurance claims. So you know they got to track back on where the train was hit or whatnot, because now you got all these Mercedes or whatever inside getting hit, and now their insurance has to pay, and the insurance are complaining to the trains about why they don't have security. So now the security has to figure out where they're slipping. So it's just a domino effect of blowing up the yard. But you know, you gotta know your rules, and you gotta have respect for a lot of those things, and think common sense. But you know,
That's what I was going to go into next. What are some of the rules of the yard that you don't do?
well, like it's just clean up after yourself. You know, don't just try to be a ghost, dude. Like, don't go over any numbers. Don't be tagging the area. Don't, you know.
Oh, yeah, I was told that one time. What the fuck you doing? Like, hey.
Well, because a train line, like a layup or a yard or whatever, is there for a certain business to paint a train. Like, if you want to go tagging or go do something, go downtown, go on the highway with that shit. But that's for a certain business to be done, and that's why a lot of old train riders are very, very bold, dude, and very protective. Because
shit, huh?
well, because if that layup gets blown, there goes their whole fucking shit. You know what I mean? Like, you know, they don't like doing this or going out on the highways or doing whatever. Painting trains is their shit. So once you fuck up their layup, you know, it's gone forever or whatever. You know, you wait 5 years, like right now in Denver. I mean, there's layups that's been hot. You know, 10 years ago, I could, you know, there's this layup down in Denver where I remember dudes getting shot by the bull with beanbags and crazy ass shit. And now 10 years later, people are painting that again. And you know, me being old school, I'm like traumatized. Like, fuck that spot. But they're like, nah, it's chill. So
Kind of goes in cycles.
yeah, it's a cycle and it keeps moving. You know, so somebody with you know, like myself, that's been painting them from like 97
From the get.
it's always changing. It's hot, then it's not. It's whatever.
Would you say you took graffiti seriously when you first started, or did it take a minute for you to kind of get serious?
I took it serious because I was always an artist since I was little. So
What were you drawing as a little kid?
Ninja Turtles, lowriders, whatever. So, like, with that being said, it's it's just being Chicano, you know, like when you're Chicano, you take pride in a lot of things. You take pride in your family, you take pride in any work you do, any artwork, you know. So like I always had pride in my artwork. Even from a young kid, I would do a drawing and show my family that, you know, like show my mom or whatever, and she would be like, "Oh, Hito, that is great, man. You drew this." So that just got me going. I'm like,
She'd encourage you, right?
yeah. So with that, you know, that was always my encouragement. And then so in graffiti, I take pride in my graffiti, like I did in my drawing of a lowrider in 3rd grade. You know what I mean? And I think it comes with our culture of our pride. You know, we're very prideful people. You know, look at our lowriders and shit like that. You know, there's a lot of pride in the little things. So so my graffiti, it's no different. You know.
Heck yeah! You said you had a couple brothers, right?
Yeah.
And you said they were like in gangs and shit. How did you steer away? Or
well, I have cousins that were in gangs. My brothers are just good kids, good
Gotcha.
people. You know, I had one of my brothers were into b-boying. As I was getting into graffiti, he was getting into b-boying. But yeah, no, it's a lot of my relatives, a lot of cousins. I have older cousins that were into gangs, and I had a couple of them, 2 of them that were into breakdancing in the late late 80s. But my mom kind of kept us inside, you know, drawing and things like that.
Being creative.
Yep. So it kept me it kept me balanced, you know, and kept me kind of safe, you know, like I knew my value in things. And so yeah, you know, art will save your life.
Hell yeah! Hey, would you say your kind of style, like, how would you describe your style, number one, and like, how did it evolve to what it is? You know what I mean? Now.
I don't know, dude. I like to flip around styles. I like to change it or whatever. I'm very organic.
Mm-hmm.
So with me, it's, I don't know, man. I'll just step up to a spot, and if I'm feeling good, like the way I feel that day, that moment, like maybe 5 minutes before I'm doing the train or you know, painting, I realize what I'm gonna do. You know, not till 5 minutes before it kind of clicks on what I'm gonna do. But I like wild style. Wild style's my shit. I love it. You know, it's just very entertaining. I mean, taking a letter and dissecting it by bars and splitting it, you know, and adding extensions or whatnot. Even wild style, like a lot of West Coast wild style, traits back from like old Chicano art, you know, Old English, all that. It has pieces of our culture that makes this wild style piece. So it's so entertaining to me and so stimulating that when I find myself doing something simple or whatever, I don't have any love for it, dog. No passion. I'm like, shit, this shit's boring.
Hell yeah! Explain to me the difference between you painting a piece on a train and then doing like a black book piece. Because when the first couple times you hit my black book up, it was some crazy shit. It wasn't no letters or anything, but it was just some. Talk about it. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh. Nah, well, like in the piece books, like I'll just, I don't know, dog. I'll get a little stone or something, and I'll just zone out on a piece book for fucking like 3 hours, and it gets a little busy, a little whatever. But I'm just an artist, all in general. You know what I mean? And so with the piece book, I'll get into some graffiti shit or just some art shit. You know what I mean? I'll just do a nice sketch for somebody. But that's that pride shit too. Like when I have somebody's piece book, I like to like zone out, you know, and just if it's some artsy shit or it's just some graffiti, it's whatever. But
I think one of the first ones was like it was some factory.
Oh yeah.
Like
No, I remember that.
Microphone.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
some crazy shit. Like, you know, like, damn. You know what I mean?
Well, like that's like, well, I like to keep it interesting, bro, and you know, with graffiti's a small part of what I'm about with my art. So if I'm not doing graffiti, I'm working on some art, some fine art, whatever, tattooing, or you know, just my whole life's wrapped around creating. And so right now with graffiti, I'm just dancing, man. I'm just playing with it. I'm not taking it, you know, I have a lot of passion. I do take it serious, but I'm not like you know, I'm not giving it my all with my graffiti. You know what I mean? I'm just fucking with layers and textures and, you know, stretching it out, whatever. It's just keep it interesting. But, you know, I see some of these other guys around and I don't know, man, they take it so serious that they forget about having fun with it. And when you don't have fun with it, it starts getting boring. You're not getting inspired with.
You're not growing.
You're not growing, and there's a flip side, because sometimes you get an ego, and with that ego comes a learning disability, because you feel like you did it all, or you feel accepted already.
And that's like the difference, like we were talking about earlier, between the old and new. Is now, you know what I mean? Like, people kind of get quick fame and they let it go in their head too, right?
Well, you have the internet, so with graffiti back in the day, you really had to have love for it, because you're not going to get a response over something you did the night before. The next day, you would have to wait months before somebody says, yo, I seen that train you did, or your crewmates or something. But now you do something, and the next day you'll get like 200 likes, 300 likes. So with that comes like a little bit of, like, I don't know, sometimes it takes away that mystery of it, you know? But yeah,
the realness of it.
Yeah, the realness. So like, I'm very blessed to start graffiti at a time that I did. Very early time. I mean, it was probably 95 that I started. I was real young, but you know, it kept me to be humble and keep trying. So that's why every year I'm at a new peak. Right. Like, I'm not running on E. I'm not like getting bored with it. I'm just to tell you the truth, just starting. You know what I mean? Like, as much as I've been growing and doing, I feel like I'm starting a new chapter next year, you know?
Right.
Like,
every year's a new chapter.
Every year's a new chapter. You know, but that comes with just finding a balance in it, and not letting these these likes get you, or like the vanity that's in graffiti, and being accepted by others, and writing behind that shit gets old. You got to do it for yourself. You know, you got to keep pushing for yourself. That's how you last a little bit longer.
So when you were getting serious about graffiti, there are a lot of cats in your generation that kind of like, you know, went on to do like great stuff, and, you know, some hitters. Who were you kind of meeting in those early years that you start running with?
Oh man, you know what? Like, when I started really writing, Core 2 was an older writer. It was one of my buddies' one of his older brothers. So he just taught me the structure of things or whatnot, but he also told me like what we could do. Like, he taught me that graffiti was a great window to art, you know, to whatever. But besides that, like, just my homies that started tattooing or started painting cars or murals or things like that. I see them, what they did with the talent. I mean, things like that. But basically, graffiti's very humbling, because you know what? There's not really a pot of gold at the end. We're like we're one of the last of the hardcore in the elements. You know what I mean? There ain't no record deal for us. There's nothing. It's just on that self-love of what you're doing is going to last. So like, a lot of my homeboys in graffiti, a lot of them didn't do too much with it. You know what I mean?
I'm saying, like, when did you like meet Koze? Like, for example.
That was an early age. I mean, that was around like 8th grade, 9th grade. I mean, I was going to school with a couple of homeboys. We were in a crew, a little local crew at the time, and
what was the name of that crew?
OKW. It was some different heads back then. It was a lot of older cats.
Was that a Denver?
That was a West Denver crew.
West Denver started crew. Okay.
We started at Lake Middle School, I believe, and it was started by, I believe it was Check and Koze, a guy named Check 1 and Koze. But anyway, so I'm going to school with a couple cats from OKW or whatnot, and then we started chilling in the West Side, and that's where I met Koze. And then from there, we just fucking all clicked up. We're all in the same crew, and we're just painting, man.
And did y'all like just kind of click right away, or like how did y'all actually meet? You said it was in school.
Well, it was through some kids I went to school with. They were all in OKW, and I started painting with them. And then, we started. I had an auntie that moved down off of Alameda and Sheridan down in West Denver, kind of. Right. And I would start visiting her over the summer. And then I had some homeboys I went to school with, and then we just started clicking down there. And then I was introduced to Koze, and we were just fucking having fun, man. Painting, doing a lot of runouts, we were doing a lot of fucking stilling and just, but yeah, we clicked up.
Was OKW like a bunch of youngsters and shit?
Yeah, I mean, we were all youngsters at that time, but it was first generation. Now, like, it's 3 generations deep or whatever, right. I think. But back then, it was, it was
brand new. Shit.
Yeah, it was brand new.
And when you say like runouts, are you talking about like with paint, with clothes, or what kind of shit?
Clothes and paint. Clothes and paint. But like back then, it was on some polos like the official fucking clothing that's never gonna go out of style. The official clothing of the hood is polo. Baller.
I would say were y'all like Don Kennedy wearing 2 polos,
striped polos, Air Maxes, not fucking. We had not that Walmart polo with no U.S. polo. But
not the dude choking the chicken, you know what I mean? The rooster.
Nah, but like back then we were just running out the stores, man, and we weren't always going in there like some cowboys. I mean, we would go in there like we're shopping, start stacking, and just walk right out, you know, with the alarms going off. And that too is another step. I mean, it's another layer in graffiti. I think growing up was shoplifting, and my friends around me, they really took that shit serious. And as I'm getting older, we always kept it around us, man. I mean, when I was in my early 20s, I really got into boosting. Me, Preach. You know, Preach was one of the kings of boosting. I mean, that fool. Yeah, I mean, I was just telling Shu the other day about this one time I seen, we're up at some sunglass place, and I'm at one side of the store doing some shopping, and Preach is in there, and we all went together, but, you know, we go in at different times, and he's wearing like a Zach Morris wig, and he's just acting like a white boy walking around, and he had all of these, he had probably 3 pairs of these Cartier glasses. They were probably like 3-4 racks and up. God, and he had previously, a couple of weeks before, he had got a key for the Cartier case. So here we are at the sunglass place, and he had opened up the Cartier case and grabbed a couple pairs, and this chick that works there, walks up behind him and says, "Hey, you know, do you need any help?" And I'm watching from the corner, and I'm like, "Oh shit." And he turns around with a big old smile, and he's rapping to this chick, and she's smiling, and I'm watching him, and he's sticking a pair of glasses up his sleeve, and I'm seeing it, and I'm like, "Holy fuck, this motherfucker's crazy, homie." Smooth. And yeah, so I'm just watching, making sure, you know, everything's okay, holding down the spot. And and then for you know it, he just walks out, man. He goes to his corner, does his little thing, and walks right out. And I'm like, God damn. And we're in the car, and he's like, "Hey, always watch their eyes, see where they're looking." And I'm like, "This chick was right across from me." He goes, "Yeah, but she wasn't looking at my hands, homie. I was making her laugh."
Right.
And I'm like, God damn. But yeah, I mean, boosting was a big part of our lifestyle.
What was your favorite thing to boost? Did you have a favorite thing, or?
I liked everything, man. We called it shopping. We would wake up. We had a couple of homeboys that, you know, we would keep around, and I would hit one of them up and say, "Hey, let's go shopping." And I could talk about this shit now. It's been, you know, whatever, so long. But we used to have these Lizzie bags.
You gotta explain to him what that is real quick.
Well, don't give it away, dog.
I'm not going to give it too much away. It's just a shoplifting device that we would use with the shopping bags that we would get from a store, and, you know, make it where their alarms don't go off, you know.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and when you're doing shit like that, it's about like how you keep yourself, how you hold yourself, walking in a place,
dress the way you're dressed, the way you
know,
look.
well. Yeah, you dress the way you look. You get on your cell phone, you know. People don't like talking to people on their cell phones, you know, don't like bothering them. But you got to keep all your senses, homie. You know what I mean? You got to keep
sides to it, basically.
Yeah. You got to walk the walk and talk the talk and be confident and don't show no weaknesses,
Exactly.
You know, like one thing kind of like with doing graffiti, sometimes you just play the part and you just act like you're supposed to be there, and you act like you know what you're doing. You don't rush. You don't look suspect. You don't look left and right. You don't act like a fucking crackhead.
Act like you're
body
supposed to be there, bro.
Body language. And that's a big thing about boosting, is you got to act like you're supposed to be doing that. We ain't going in acting like some cowboys and you know, running out all crazy. There's been times that we like look the part, you know, look like we belong, you know, get what we have to do and slide out the back door, you know. And sometimes the back door doesn't have an alarm. We just slide right out. But it was all about controlling the situation. And that's another thing about the new school kids in graffiti is the whole we're criminals, homie. You know, we're fucking criminals. Be low key. Don't be fucking blowing yourself up online. Don't be, you know, just be a little bit like low key.
That's not who they are, though.
Well, it's a new generation, homie, and they lack discipline.
It's not even the new generation. This has been the last couple generations. Remember the first 48? Mm-hmm. I remember watching one where fucking the guys that smoked them were in a Cadillac with Texas plate. They go straight to the Facebook. First picture, all three dudes on the Cadillac with Texas plates, holding their guns.
I think the laws are a little different nowadays too.
Yeah. Well, back then,
especially after Corona, a lot of people it's a low security crime now. So it's like it's not like
they're not really caring anymore like they used to. I remember in Denver, when they were cracking down on graffiti, and they made carrying any type of aerosol a felony, and they were in graffiti
utility, or what do they call
graffiti utilities, and they used to push it. You would go do some jail time or whatnot.
Yeah.
But
talk to Detective Roy Ball.
Yeah, Roy Ball, and go through that whole little spill, man. Go do graffiti cleanup.
Snitch on your homie. Try to get you to snitch on your homies.
But the thing with me is, like, I knew I was a minor when I was younger. I think I got caught doing graffiti at least like 5-6 times before I turned 17. And I went in there with an attitude, homie. Like, I remember like me and my mom being at the little, thing in talking to the judge in court. And I remember this one case, the judge was like, you had like over 40 cans in your guys' trunk, this and that. And he was like, are you planning on stopping? And I told him, nah, I'm not. And I'm laughing at my homies behind me, and my mom's pinching me. She's like, you motherfucker. But I knew I was a minor, homie. They would send me to go do my graffiti cleanup, to go, and that's it, homie. Slap me with the ticket, and that was it. So I knew my pros and my cons, and I'm not afraid to go to jail. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you get some Kool-Aid with no sugar, a thick-ass bologna sandwich. It's cool. It's not out. They ain't hacking our hands off. So in any crime that I do, you always do the pros and the cons. What's going to happen. Even till to this day, we'll go rock a train or something. And, I was telling Shu how sometimes, like, some of the trains we've been getting, it's in a hot spot, homie. Like, they're in a hot spot. People see that shit and they think we're out in the boondocks in the cornfield, but we're actually like traffic lights are on that train, but right. We're not blowing up the spot. But I'm just saying, like, just with our good senses, homie, we could sense when the car's coming up that street, so we, duck and hide. But at the end of the day, man, we make it safe, but we don't shake, homie. Like, we're not scared because we've been doing this shit. And we've been through so much shit where what we're doing is fun. And some of these new kids, they think what they're doing, doing graffiti, they think it's the end of the world that they get caught, when really it's not, homie. There's worse things you could be doing. Yeah, it's just a ticket. So I put that pro and the cons together, and, before we go get it, and it just helps the confidence.
Right. Yeah. I was going to ask you about racking back then, or like not, boosting compared to like nowadays. Like, is it like nowadays you got to worry about a lot of cameras, you know what I mean? And then back then, like, you know what I mean?
Well, like I said, you can't be no cowboys with the shit. And like when we were doing it, there's an art for it. And me and a lot of the homies that I was around were very, we have good senses, homie. Like, we know when a cat's handshake don't match their smile, things like that. And we know how to listen to our to what we call our G code, our inner G, your intuitive, your gut feeling. And that plays a big role because you have to be balanced. You have to be able to read that person or whatever, from the spot to the store or whatever. So when I would go in, and if there was any cameras or whatever, you find that weak spot. Every store has a weak spot. It's a corner. It's somewhere you find that weak spot, and where you're going to, dump your shit. But like a little funny story though, it was like, probably like 10 years ago, man. It's been like, at that time it's years since I boosted or whatever, and so I'm at this art store, homie, and fucking, it was during the holidays. It was real packed. And I'm there, and I'm picking up some acrylics, and I'm looking, and they were like $21, homie, and I'm like, God damn.
Like, fuck.
So I'm in the pocket of the store where the acrylics are, and there ain't no cameras, right? And I'm in this big old North Face parka, and I'm looking at this one, homie, like this acrylic, and I'm like, damn, $21 for this motherfucker. And before you know it, homie, before I even finished the thought, I already put it in my pocket. And before you know it, bro, I swear to God, it was probably like 20, 30 of those motherfuckers I already took in my pocket. I'm just like, bam, bam, like muscle memory. And I'm like, oh shit. And I walk out, go to my store, go inside my car. And I'm like, damn, that was much easier. And I didn't have to wait in no lines or whatever. But I was like, damn. And I was starting to think how that shit was an addiction, homie. And even with Preach, man, even when he moved to San Diego, I remember him telling me like how he was schooling a lot of people down there with the boosting and everything, because they met this homeboy from Denver, and he was showing everybody he met like who he was, homie. Like he could he'll take something right in front of you, like he'll like he was a gypsy, homie, and we were all gypsies. And so when he moved to San Diego, there were stores that I remember I visited Preach the first year he moved to San Diego, and he didn't know nobody. And we went and visited him, and he took me to this outdoor mall up in La Jolla. And, we had a couple of our little bags or whatnot and other things. And he boosted so much shit out there, homie. He was doing walkouts at Home Depot. And, let me mind you, out back then, bro, not a lot of people was doing that whole Home Depot shit. I think back then, to be honest, I was telling Shu this too the other day, how I could say like Koze and Preach and them were probably some of the first ones, bro. I mean, I'm sure people walked out, of the place, of course, like in the 90s or maybe in the 80s. But to make it a thing, Preach and Koze, bro. Preach would fill up the whole carts and then put, and just walk right out, man. It wasn't a thing back then, so it made it harder. Now it's a fad, man. Now, everybody's walking out with buckets and whatever. But back then, when not too many people are doing it, it's kind of harder, homie. But there's one thing we always told the little homies was, real fools do what they want, and the weak do what they can.
Right.
So when you're inside of a store, a yard, or whatever, man, you fucking think about how you're going to make it home safe and how you're going to take care of this shit.
All means necessary.
Yeah, but that confidence is a big thing, and that's even in graffiti. You know what I mean? Like, people don't even have the confidence to push themselves. Some people just want to do what's in, but it takes a strong-minded, good, confident person to do something new. You don't know how it's going to be, how it's going to look, or what, and if I didn't have that confidence, I would be bored, homie. Like, I wouldn't even be doing graffiti right now. I'm only doing graffiti right now because it's like a spiritual exercise for me.
Stimulating your mind.
It's very stimulating. I don't pay attention to the scene too much besides good work. I like seeing a guy doing good work, like some good graffiti out there. But besides that, all the gossip and who's cool, who's biting, all that shit, I think that shit's lame, homie. And I think that goes along the same lines as of the whole vanity, homie. Being accepted, letting fools know that, like, oh, I created that, I'm the owner of that idea, because that is vanity taking over. You want to be accepted by other men, so I never got into graffiti for that. It's just a very, like you said, it's just a stimulating thing for me, so with something like that, man, when you do it just for the love, you're going to be irrelevant. You know what I mean? Like I said before, every year's a new peak for me, and I'm going to keep pushing myself. And if you're my homie and you painting with me, you're going to feel that same energy, and you're going to be pushing yourself too. So when you see somebody with me, rocking with me, that he's on one, that he's pushing himself too.
Right.
And that's just the person I am, and that's just who I was brought up. All my homies, that's what we did. We pushed each other. We were there for each other. We made sure we all had money in our pocket. And that's why we were a family. That's why we were the AE mob, and right. The mob wasn't just a word. It was principle. It was principle between brothers or crew or whatever, like what the mafia had or whatever, and taking care of each other, and that's a big part, and that's missing in some of these new school graffiti crews.
I was going to ask you, I don't know if you mentioned it, but how did you actually meet Preach?
Through a homeboy named Rocco. I met him, I think I was 22, 21, and he was around 19, and he had a crew called Def Crew, and I think it was him, Omai was in his crew, and a couple other cats, and I met him, man, and he was just so psyched to have met me, and to be homeboys with me. But meeting him, he was just 100% homie. He was down to paint. down to boost. He just carried himself good, you know. So I don't know. R.I.P. Preach though.
For the people that don't know who Preach is, kind of give them just like a little bit about Preach, because you were close with them, right?
Yeah. Oh man, he was he lived that, you know, that saying I said, like the strong do what they want and the rest do what they can. He actually lived that. When I first met him, he was a son of a preacher, man, and he was very like. He was very noble. He was very like straight up with you, and he was just a good guy. He was just a good kid that loved graffiti, but he didn't live underneath like people's expectations. Like he lived his own shit. Like he made
his own rules.
Yeah. So with him, he was a champion BMX rider from like 10 years old to like 17. And I mean, he had probably over like 30-40 trophies of the BMX from being younger. So he was all into that, you know, that type of culture. So when I met him, man, he was doing graffiti. He was, you know, he lived his whole life. He was a good guy, and we just clicked. And then maybe a couple of years of just painting with them and being crew with them, because he wasn't always like a booster either. There was this one time he needed to make some money for his card payment. So I told him about this Blockbuster thing. And he goes, what? And so I took him to a Blockbuster, and we had these little canvas bags that we would get from Michael's, the little, you know, handy bags, whatever, with the little handle. So anyway, I would go in there into Blockbuster, and we would start getting all these games. They would sell all these new Xbox games, PlayStation games, and I would rack them. I would place them on the back shelf, and then Preach would come in with the bag. Because I told him before, I go, hey homie, I'm gonna show you how to make some money, you know, and whatever. And he was smart, you know. But so anyway, so we're in the Blockbuster. I'm in there first. I'm making a little stack of all the good new release games and movies, putting them in the back shelf, and then I would leave. And Preach would come in with the bag, and it was this regular canvas bag. And he would place all the shit in these two big bags, and he would put them underneath his coat that he would carry on his arm. And at this time, I'm outside. And in Blockbuster, the exit doesn't have, like, the exit's different than the entrance. Like, the entrance doesn't have an alarm, but you can only open it from the outside. So when he's making his way to the entrance, like, you know, a little bit off to the side, you know, waiting for a good time, I'll come through the front, open the door for him, and he slides right out. We go back to the pad, we crack open those little cases, and then it was, you know, we had some, you know, like my mom would slang a bunch of those at her job. So like we would make some good money. So once I showed him that, it just sparked something, and he was very smart. He could see the combos in places.
In the armor,
yeah. So he was always about that. He was like a gypsy by blood, you know. So he knew. So after that, I just opened up something. Before you know it, he was just getting one step ahead, doing other things. He would come to my pad with all this gear, whatever. Then we just kept it going. And us as a crew at that time, we were one of the biggest. I don't know if the first, but we were one of the biggest at the time doing all that boosting life. Right. You know what I mean? But yeah, but anyway, he wasn't what we were talking about, preaching who he was, like, you know, he lived life, he was bigger than life. And I know a lot of people say that when someone passes away, they're always like, he was bigger than life, and you never met somebody, but he was bigger than life, homie. There's so many stories of that fool, like so many stories of like just things he was pulling off, or just putting yourself in a situation where we actually got away with it. You know, I'm like, God damn, but you know, that's the way you gotta live life. You know, if you ain't living life, then like that, what the fuck you doing? Right.
And he had the city bombed up everywhere, right?
Oh man, yeah, dude. Like I remember this time, dude. Like one of the heights of it was like him and Koze had every fucking billboard, homie, like crushed. Like there probably was 7 to 8 billboards down I-25 and a couple down I-70 or whatever on the way to Golden that had not no like quick shit, but pieces. You know, like they had double outlines, in outlines, 4 or 5 colors, wild style. And I remember taking a drive with him and fuck, bro, going down the highway like, damn, homie, like we're we're it, homie. Like our homies, Koze, Preach, all of us, bro. Like we're the underachievers, homie. We're the underdogs, you know, and we came up. All these other fools around us, they never wanted to give us a chance or whatnot, or you know, but we're the ones that proved them wrong, you know. And Koze, you know, there was a time back in the day they were saying Koze wasn't a real bomber. You know what I mean? You know, and that shit sounds funny now,
It's
but
crazy.
it is crazy. But you know, himself is a Rocky Balboa story, dog. Because you know what? I went pound for pound every round, every year, homie. Like doing shit that nobody could even fathom. Like how could you keep up with them? And those are the people that I keep around me, you know, until to this day. And it's the people that ain't afraid to live life, and we're balanced people. We're secured with ourselves, you know. We still feed each other, help each other, you know, and that's the only way I know. So with that being said, that's why it's hard to make, you know, to make new friends, you know. I'm not saying I'm a bitter dude or whatever. I'm very like, you know,
You can't trust shit nowadays.
just can't, homie. And
no, people don't have no values, bro. They
If
just
it's-
want to use you till they can find the next motherfucker to take them to the next level.
well, that's another thing is people using you, you know, and
They want the next cheat code. That's it.
that's it. So you as a man, you have to realize that and your value, and know when you do come across like a little vampire, you know, you get these energy vampires or whatever, people that just want to use you, that don't care for you. Like,
Frenemies.
oh, and I think about that all the time. I think to myself, man, like, you know, I go like, you know, like if I wasn't good at what I do, would this guy be friendly to me? You know what I mean? Or I was even telling, you know, I was even telling Shu, you know, like, you know, if he wasn't good at what he was doing and all the stuff he does, you know, as his liability and his career, you know, with his career and everything, I go, would a lot of these fools love you, homie? You know, if you didn't have nothing to give them, you know, and that's something that we have to do as men.
That's
as
the new generation.
That's that new generation, homie. You know, but it's all good.
I was gonna ask you, did you help create AE Mob, or was it already formed?
It was already formed. I mean, I got put down by Preach and Yesko.
Mm-hmm.
Yesko was a co-founder of AE. Was Yesko.
Do you know
And
anything about the starting of AE?
yeah, well, all Preach told me was they were in a crew called Def Crew, DEF, and one day they were just talking about, you know, starting a crew or whatnot, and they came up with alter egos, and alter ego being your other second nature of who you are, like a superhero, you know, like Bruce Wayne and Batman or whatever. So just that idea alone started sparking up a lot of inspiration, and they're like, fuck yeah, let's do this. And I believe the earliest members were, I know the co-founders of Preach, Yesko, me, Koze, and a couple other homeboys, 8-Bit, Hot Boy, you know, a couple, you know, and then after that, it stretched to, you know, Scape, you know, a lot of other homeboys. Heiser, you know, but yeah, I think I was like the third or fourth one to be put down.
That's crazy. Were you close to Escape too, or did you know? I mean, I'm sure you knew.
You know what, man? Being from Denver, dog, like, I mean, when you're growing up in the same place, like, you have history with people in, you know, new or old. Like with Scape, I known him probably like, I think I was in 8th grade. You know, he was living up in Federal Heights, Colorado, like down by Waterworld. By Waterworld. And him and his brother, they used to chill with a couple other homeboys I knew, Karan and all of them. And they were beatboxers, Karan. You know, they were all like little beatboxers and shit. He was a very gifted beatboxer. And then they used to chill with my homeboy Lalo, and that was all 8th grade. So as I started my adventure into getting into more graffiti, I would always run into Scape, you know, and from the early age till when he got put down with AE, you know. So we always had a friendship, and that's just being in the same place, you know, growing in the same place. You have history with a lot of people that are local.
Yeah, because when you were growing up, like hip hop was a thing. Like you guys were having parties, and can you talk about all that stuff?
Well, like when I was young, around 8th grade, 9th grade with graffiti, I mean, one of my earliest memories though, like just with the whole, I guess the scene or whatever. I remember, we were all OKW. We were around like, I don't know, 8th grade, 9th grade. So we were around 15. And I remember they used to throw these hip hop parties called SOS. And they were a b-boy contest, whatever. And at this time they had them on Alameda, a couple blocks east of Alameda and Federal. But anyway, I remember going there with my crew. We had to meet up at the bus stop at the Avadale Apartments. We used to catch the 30, and before one of these hip hop jams. And I remember being there, homie, like around like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we would be there with like 4 other crews showing up. So there was probably like 40, 50 fools there, all with big old pants or whatever. And before you know it, homie, you had probably like 15, 20 people jumping on the side of the bus, like tagging on it, on the windows and scribing. Okay. And we were like, and then we would get on the bus and fools are just scribing and scribing on the windows or whatnot.
Like some piece by piece.
Yeah, exactly. So the bus would drop us off on Alameda and Feds, and we would walk, with 3 other crews. So you have like 40, 30 dudes walking, and to this hip hop jam. And being in the jam, homie, like, just that whole feel of hip hop, fools breakdancing or whatnot, and you had all the graffiti guys in the back corner, and it was good energy, homie. I mean, b-boying's good to watch, dog. I always like watching the battles or whatnot. One of the best earlier battles was Arc versus J-Rock, homie. Was one of the highlight in the b-boy community out here. Little Arc being from GWT and Little J-Rock being from LOF, and that was a good battle, homie. Like, I remember seeing that at one of those jams. But anyway, the graffiti game back there, one of my earliest memories was being at that bus stop and seeing all of us just rock the side of that bus, homie. And the crews that were around right there were like a lot of federal crews, dog. A lot of federal crew, and that's the thing.
A lot of Hispanic cats.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the Denver hip hop is we always had like 2 sides, homie. You had the federal kids in the federal scene, and then you had a lot of downtown cats, whatever. And the federal kids, they were gladiators, homie. They were about that life, dog. If it was like banging or whatever, dog, like you were just running with other crews that were down to get it. And the Denver cats, they were just down for hip hop, which is fine. But at that time we were just about federal, dog. Federal's on the highway, homie. Like, we were just hanging down off of the roofs and shit, and just doing your name and it was very hectic, bro. I mean, you had federal being kind of a hot spot. You had cops going up and down. You had fools, mobbing around, and so it was gladiator school, homie. And anybody that stems from that area and that era, they're built a little different, homie. Like, we don't cry, and we have good work ethic. Right. You know what I mean? Like, we're down to get down, and we're not crybabies.
And then the thing about federal is you will get seen, right?
You will get seen, homie. I mean, that's the biggest boulevard where we would cruise, That's where everybody's seen your shit. So back then, to have federal on lock, and then you have all your gear on lock, you were ready for the summer and Cinco de Mayo, homie. You would get up just for Cinco de Mayo. I remember there's years Koze would crush fucking federal before Cinco de Mayo, and then we had our fits that we jacked, and sometimes we would be in a G load or whatever, and we were just living it, homie. So when we were around these other cats that we meet, they would think some of the homies were bullies or they came off like assholes, and I'm like, hey, we're just from another part of town, bro.
And graffiti writers,
graffiti, man. But we love graffiti, and the thing is though, and I didn't really realize till I got older, and man, like, I remember, like, I started coming to me that a lot of my homies growing up in around that area, they were getting abused, bro, at home, from their brothers, from the neighborhood, getting beat up or whatever.
Right.
And all they had was the graffiti, because if not, all they were doing was having boxing lessons at the Boys and Girls Club. You know what I mean? So graffiti filled that void of love that they were lacking, at home. And that's why they were so dedicated to it, because the love from our homies, the love from peers, the love from from bitches on Federal, you know, it filled that void. So that's why you had these fools that they weren't wearing backpacks. They weren't wearing their hat to the side. They're wearing polo with Air Maxes, packing straps. Right. But they love graffiti, yet as much or more than any of these other hip hop kids. But they just don't look goofy. You know what I mean? But there were young Chicanos from neighborhoods where all they had was their graffiti, and you know, and then so that's a big important part for it, man. And of graffiti is that it plays that void that we have, you know, and that's what people don't understand or we forget about hip hop is that hip hop was created for the poor, for the kids that didn't have nothing. You know, I was watching this thing about the history of it, about hip hop in general being started. The word came from a parade that was going on, and the DJ was like hip hop, and from there they just called it hip hop.
Right.
But it's much deeper than that, man. Like when you had these Puerto Rican kids and in the South Bronx, and you know.
I want to ask you about that. So how do you feel like when they say like Hispanics or Latinos didn't have any part of actually hip hop? You know what I mean?
Nah. You know what?
I would say like the rap, yes, but rap wasn't the first element of hip hop to me.
Well,
you know what I mean? It was more like I would say graffiti, DJing,
rapping, hip hop.
Oh wait, my bad. I would say it would be graffiti, DJing, b-boys, then rap.
Yeah.
And rap, like, yeah, they, you know,
b-boy, bro.
99% of it, they fucking, yeah. But as far as like graffiti and hip hop and b-boying, there were Latinos there all day.
It started with Puerto Ricans. South Bronx is where it started, and it was majority Puerto Ricans, and you had blacks and all that, but they're all together. They started it. It was a minority thing.
Is, like you might know, is when you're in the hood, you know, it might be a Mexican hood, but there's always one white boy in the hood. There's always one black boy in the hood, and they're down with us, so they're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You have your mix of everything.
But when you have back then, you gotta keep in mind, it was 1979, 1980. You have in these projects in the South Bronx. You had these kids that weren't going to art school. They weren't going to dance school. They didn't have nothing. And the most dangerous thing is a bored child. And when they introduced these elements that you don't got to go to art school, you don't got to go to dance school. Pull out a piece of cardboard and you show these kids that have nothing doing some fucking amazing things on a piece of cardboard, spinning on their heads and fucking balancing themselves. Right. And then you had people taking household items from under their sink and sneaking into the train yard to do something beautiful, and it was very dangerous. You know what I mean? So, and they didn't give a fuck. And with DJing, I mean, balancing the breaks and MCing, being not just a poet, but it's like a poet on steroids. So it is an element for the underachievers, for the have-nots, that we can make something out of nothing. Because as much as they try to keep us down and not offer art school to these kids, we found a way, and that's something that we still keep in my heart in graffiti is showing love, like to young kids I come across or whatever. And there's tons of stories, homie, where like that I take with me, and that's the love from the streets, homie. I could be at a store. I remember this one time being at a paint store, and I heard someone call my name. They're like, Payer, and I turn around, and it's just, 5 young dudes, I don't know who they are. And I'm like, what up, homies? And they're like, what's up, homie? And I don't know, I'm myself. I don't really, I don't get caught up in, a lot of that. But they were just like, oh, man, it's you, homie. How you doing? And this and that. And I'm just like, just buying some paint, this and that. And they're like, hey, you remember me? I met you when you were painting a couple years ago. I go, not really, dog, but how you doing? And they're like, hey, can you, is it cool if you sketch on my book? I have it in the car. And I'm like, yeah, dude, absolutely, homie, go get it. And I'm there waiting in line on the counter, and the cashier's watching this. So he has a big smile, seeing it. And I'm just drawing in the shit, and I do a little wild style piece real quick. And he's just like, ah, damn, you just did that right there, right now and then. I'm like, yeah, and I give him some good pointers, homie. I give him some, I'm very, I don't judge nobody against me. I don't judge. When somebody shows me something, I give him my honest opinion, and if I know the cat, I'll let him know, like, hey, homie, what you're doing now with your shit is great. I'm being honest. But anyway, getting home, and one of his homeboys, he had gave me a DM, and he's like, "Hey, homie, my homie really looks up to you, dog. Thank you for being cool. Thank you for doing what you did." And I go, "Yeah, because what we're doing is for the have-nots, and if I come across anybody, it's not always race or whatever, but if it's a young Chicano or any black or whatever, man, and they're painting or whatever, I like to say, I push myself for you guys. I like to do art. I like to do whatever I need to do. Like if it's my career or whatever, I'm doing something, making something out of nothing. And if I could do it, you could do it. And it's weird because I say it's not a race thing, but there's other people in other cultures that don't want to show that love. Each one teach one and all that.
Right.
So that's something
keep it to themselves.
Well, that's one thing I learned is there's no love for assholes, homie. There's no love for assholes, and if you can't sit there and be honest with somebody, or even show somebody share your power, then you're a fucking scumbag. You know what I mean? Go in your room and pet your cat, and hang out. But you're a scumbag. But it all relates to the start of hip hop, homie, for the underachievers, and I think, I think over time, man, I think skateboarding's like a part of those elements. I think
for sure.
I think tattooing. I think with skateboarding, homie, like if you look at it and you give your kid a skateboard with wheels and he's spending so much time with it and he's doing all this shit, all with a piece of wood and wheels. That's some monk shit, and that goes along with spray paint. Like imagine taking something underneath the sink and painting a masterpiece with it, and you get these motherfuckers paying $200,000 for art school and all this shit, and they couldn't do shit. And you have this kid that never went to art school, like me, Shu. We never went to art school. We did nothing. We didn't even finish fucking school, But we self-taught, and that's the thing of turning a negative into a positive, like I said, man, like the real do what they want and the rest do what they can. And so if I never went to art school, I'm gonna push myself, homie, teaching myself or whatever, because I'm about art, like graffiti being just one side of me, man. So I love art, so I like showing love, homie.
Right. Hey, have you always smoked weed?
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you smoked weed?
Fifth grade.
God damn, you were
Fifth grade. I remember we were down in the field, and I was smoking with a couple of homeboys, and we were in fifth grade, man. The lady at the recess, the chick watching the kids during recess, blowing the whistle, homie, and I was so fucking, we were paranoid. We're like, fuck, we gotta go back in. And I look back at it now, bro, and I'm like, fuck, I was like 11, bro. But anyway, we're putting cologne in our mouth, and I'm like spitting it out. And we go in, and then we go, and we go right into DARE class. I remember this time, we're in DARE class. And I'm sitting there, and I'm fucking high, dude. And I'm like, fuck. And I'm a little kid, bro, and we're singing the DARE song, and I'm thinking, fuck, I'm going to get in trouble. But, it's just always been with me, dog, smoking weed since then, and...
Did you get high the first time, obviously?
Yeah. No, I don't really remember, dog, but I was high because I remember being paranoid in that little DARE class. But
was it Reggie?
Yeah, it was in Reggie. I didn't smoke no chronic until probably like 9th grade. Kind buds. It was called kind buds back then. That real sticky shit that would stick to your wall. But yeah, it was Reggie.
Do you remember how you met Heiser and Lencho here?
Lencho I didn't meet till like 5-10 years ago. But I met Heiser the same time I met like Shu. And Shu was like, Shu was probably like 16, 17. And I remember that day we were painting up in Aurora, and it was me, Preach, and Rock.
Aurora killers, huh?
Yeah, like us, we never used to go out there that much, but we went underneath the bridge up there, and we wanted to paint. And we were painting, me, Rocco, Preach, and I remember this little kid came, bro, with curly ass hair and big old shorts, bro, and he came up, started rapping to Rocco, and then we started talking to him or whatnot, and he went and got his book and came back, and we drew in his book and everything, talked to him. and being real, you know, even if I could remember correctly, like she even remembering my homeboy Rocco giving him some straight advice on his stuff, you know, and that relates to is, you know, always be honest and showing love, you know. That's always been a part of my homeboy shit. So anyway, yeah, that little kid ended up being Shu, and you know, Heiser around the same time we met him, and they were young, 17, 16 years old, and yeah, we always been fucking family, you know, like we always, you know, with TKO and AE and all that, we're all just the same group of friends, Koze, you know, so we're all like cousins, like we're all family, so, you know, so since then and that's who I'm rocking with now, Issue, and it's the same thing, we're family, just pushing each other, you know. Even right now we're getting ready to release a new chapter in our Graffiti, you know, with some bigger things, you know, that are coming up.
Some big productions or what?
Yeah, just some big spots coming your way. Some big shit. I ain't gonna spoil it, but it's gonna be a new wave of shit. We're gonna bring back that old shit. We're gonna bring back, you know how we were talking about how from the old to the new, but we're bringing back that old Mike Tyson, Bo Jackson, fucking Oscar De La Hoya. You know, when sports were really
slap you in the face. Type
yeah,
shit.
so we're putting that back into our Graffiti, you know, and yeah, but that's part of stepping it up. But anyway, I'm still rocking with that little homeboy from that day, you know. So
that's dope.
And with Heiser, he just connected to us. He connected with us right away, and he became AE, and that was Preach's little man, homie, you know. And even when Preach passed away, homie, like you know, at his services, you know, Heiser rolling in a wheelchair with wires in his chest and everything, because one thing about people don't know about Heiser is, you know, dude probably used 6 of 9 of his lives, homie. He's been on his deathbed. Yeah. He's been on his deathbed a few times, you know, and so it's a blessing to have him still out here doing his thing, man. And he's living life. Strong do what they want, the weak do what they can. You know, I'm gonna keep saying that. I think that's the phrase for this. But you know, and that's AE, homie, and AE's. You know, AE's, it's the way you hold yourself. Like I said, the strong do what they want. And with Heiser, you know, he's definitely showing fools that's AE, you know, just by him being irrelevant and pushing it, you know, and he's just having fun.
How old is AE? How old is it?
AE started in 2003, 2002, 2003. And yeah, but we're starting it past, I'd say the last 3 years we got back on the ball. You know, we all kind of grew and we lost 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, that sucks, man.
Yeah, but it's all right. We're here.
I was going to say, the first time me and you met,
I remember that like yesterday too, homie. I was painting a wall.
The steel walls.
I was painting up at the steel walls.
That's a little hood right there.
Yep. And I stepped back, looked back, and I seen a homeboy in the van, and it was you. I didn't really know. You stepped out.
About that shit.
Yeah, and I was like, what up? And you used to slang movies, homie, like bootlegged DVDs and all the good joints, all the new releases and shit.
All that high quality shit.
Yeah, before you know it, you would you started coming to my pad, homie, slanging my family movies, all that shit. They couldn't wait till Joe came.
For real, bro. I remember he came to the crib one time with the whole family. It was like Thanksgiving, bro. And they all bought like 20 movies a piece, bro. Like, I was just like,
because they knew about that boost in life, homie. Like, they were already prepared that my homies, you know, they always came with some goods, you know, and you had your own shit that you were doing, and
kind of like my little way in, honestly, because that shit got me like a fucking, not that it got me a couple things, but it got me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Starting little things here, but slanging movies, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly. You're always on your hustle.
Getting a logo from Jer, which Jer don't do shit for free. But when I say I hook you with unlimited bootlegs for life, and he's like, all right, fuck it, you know what I mean?
And what's cool too, a little part of Denver history that is kind of getting stumbled on is that still wall, homie. Like, that was a wall that I got around that year, around 2008. You
used to have all those walls open.
Well, the way that started, homeboy, was I found a pattern that always around my birthday, homie, like without planning it, I'm always doing something big, graffiti related, art related. I don't know what it is, but I start noticing the pattern that around my birthday, I'm always jumping into a big project, a big old piece, homie, roller piece, whatever, big one. And this one particular year, I wanted to go. I wanted to flex something big, so I called up a homeboy at the time, this fool from the city, from Denver, and I told him, "Hey, homeboy, can I use your wall to paint your wall?" And he kind of got lippy with me, and he had a big ego because I guess there was a lot of tension between crews back then and their legal walls or whatever. I don't know. So, I hung up on him, and he called me back, and he goes, "Hey, homie, like, I'm sorry, this and that, but yeah, you could paint my wall." And I'm like, "Homie, it's cool, dog. Keep your wall." So I said to myself, "Damn, homie, we don't have somewhere where I could just go flex on a day off or when you want to do something." So that weekend,
Right.
me and my homeboy Moses, rest in peace, he just passed away, but me and him went around, and because he had the gift of the gab, and we went around to some places. I went around to that still wall. I talked to the owner there, and I gave him a little rap, man. I always tell people that they're, if they have some type of gang graffiti problem or whatever, I always tell them that, they're, you can't control that graffiti. It's like AIDS. You just got to learn how to work with it. There's no cure. So by me doing a little, doing some pieces on there, doing something real nice, there's a mutual respect, and it'll keep fools off your spot. So I told that to the first person up on the still wall, and he goes, "Oh, bet, cool, man. We like you. We like your energy. Go ahead and paint whatever you want." So I rocked something real nice the first time just to show them, just to have their confidence in me. And then I would paint that, homie, because in graffiti it's very important, bro. Very important to have a spot to practice. Because the name of the game is to be good, homie, and people want to be irrelevant. They want to say, "Oh, I get up," and that's good, homie. You got to do that too, but be good. You got to practice though, homie. Like you gotta practice makes perfect. So having a legal wall like that is a strong value in what we're doing, and I appreciated that because I didn't have it. So by getting that wall, I was like, bet. And I went down to Larmer up there on 34th and Larmer, and at that time. Well, right now that district is called the Rhino District, but back then it was the Wino District.
The Wino District.
It's nothing but winos and one-ways, and so I liked that area at the time because it was so a bunch of like ran down warehouses and everything, and it reminds me of like where you would see some sick pieces in production. So I went down and talked to this storage place on 34th and Larmer. And I gave the owner the same. Well, he was a manager. I gave him the whole spiel, the whole fucking AIDS, and it's graffiti's like AIDS. There's no cure. Just got to learn how to work with it.
That's exactly what you were saying.
Yeah. So I told him that too, and because it always makes them laugh a little bit, and they're like, all right, I get you. Go ahead. So I painted that, and then I had got this other one in between there, and it's right off of 40th block. A block west of 40th and Still. I had got this other wall too that later it got knocked down or whatever, but anyway, the Still wall and the Larmer wall from 2007 stayed irrelevant. They're my walls, and I wasn't like, oh, they're mine, but I went and got them, and I was practicing. So the first time I painted the Larmer wall, homie, I just got down with Bear and them at the time, with BTR, with Reason, and then Reason was an old homeboy. And I connected with them, and we painted that wall, and we did it real nice, bro, real nice, homie. From there it just stood irrelevant, homie. And even there, the shit I was doing on the Larmer wall, I would get all these business people. They would go around, and they're used to the winos and the one-ways and the dirty shit or whatever, and they would see what we were doing, and they're like, holy shit, man, I love what you guys are doing, and are you down to paint my business? I'm like, sure, I'll go paint. I think it was Erica Motorsport. I painted their business and another business, and this lady came. She owned a little grocery store, homie, on 29th. It was now what bar was it? Cold Crush or whatever. It turned into Cold Crush. But it was a little grocery store owned by a Chicano family that was there since the 40s, and she came and asked if I wanted to paint it, and this and that. But anyway, so after painting a lot of those businesses, a lot of real estaters started recognizing the change in the neighborhood, homie, the colors and shit, and that became the art district after that.
So kind of honestly, like, to say, you kind of started the Rhino district with the murals and shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
By hustling, the panaderia,
while showing that, like showing showing how you paint shit pink and it looks good, and that's where the real estate people seen, because now a bad neighborhood now it looks safe. There's color, so they started throwing some money around and this and that, but at the time I wasn't really into the money. It was just the love of having walls I could get down. So I didn't really follow the money on that trip. I just pursued it, doing another career choice, getting into tattooing and all that. But no, man, I started that little art district or whatever, and but it all stemmed from just wanting a place to paint, homie, without having to ask somebody else, homie, and where I could be able to go bust a big piece, go
do whatever you want,
do whatever I want, homie, and until to this day. Well, that Larmer wall just got knocked down, last year, and it was running for, I don't know, 13, 14 years. And then we have the steel wall, homie, and that shit's still rocking.
How many times do you think that motherfucker's been painted?
Bro, the steel wall, I don't know, probably 8 times a week. I don't know, for like 12, 13 years. I don't even...
Nah, it was probably longer when.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
They weren't painted on the regular back then.
Well, back then when I met you, it was just me.
Yeah.
And like the only reason why other people started painting that is because I started focusing on my career, and I didn't have time to patrol my walls, keep it painted. If I keep good shit on there, and I'm very mutual with everybody in Denver. I'm a mutual cat, so I have strong respect for my peers. So it was just me painting those walls. And I actually learned all of that, how to support yourself and your graffiti crew from Menace. Menace 1 being one of my OGs, he taught me about how to run a crew, And even though I wasn't running a crew, just staying irrelevant, I remember he had got a lot of these spots under bridges, the Quebec walls, off of I-70, all of those. Yeah,
I wonder what's down there now. I mean, it's probably
some hobo sex, I don't know. It's no, but nah, homie, he had showed, he had got all these walls, all the train layups that they were founded by him, man. Eagle Claw and all these other places, up Golden or whatever. They were all founded by him, by fucking Menace. So he told me how, he taught me that, we're a graffiti crew, homie. And if you get a place for your crew to get down, some trains, some wall spots, that's how you feed your crew, homie, so they can stay relevant, because practice makes perfect. And so, I took his advice, got my own walls, try to always keep my own train yards, get my own thing, and the rest was history with those walls. It supported a lot of people around town, to be able to paint, when their friends come in town or whatnot. But that's another thing too, though, dog, is with the whole street art shit, man. Like street art, the birth of street art was in Mexico City. And when they talk about Latinos and where we are in hip hop or whatever, homie, like it's in our blood, bro. Like those Congo drums that they used to play while b-boys were breakdancing, that all comes from our culture, And Mexico City started street art, dog. Like they started by the 3 greats, they call them, and one of them being Diego. And they're the ones that started street art back in the day. When after the Mexican Revolution, they came back and they hired these artists to paint the walls of Mexico City. And to tell the story about what's going on. And in the history books, they say the real Mexican Revolution was art and was street art. And now when you go down to Mexico City, it's big, homie. You see these cats humble, not having too much, but they fucking do some of the most beautiful,
crazy shit,
beautiful artwork, homie. They're graffiti writers, all of that, and it's in our blood, homie. Street art, art, whatever. It's in our blood, bro. So that's why we're doing the things we're doing, because I can't fight it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So. Yeah.
Hey, well, check it out, man. We're gonna take a little break, take a little bathroom break, all that good stuff. When we come back, we're gonna talk about your career, and then we're gonna wrap it up, man.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. All right, and we're back. It's your boy Joe Thunder. We got Payer, AE, Mom, Aliens, graffiti artists. Character, what would you call it? Not character artist, but
it's an artist,
an artist, tattoo artist. You know what I'm saying?
Ex bullfighter,
expo. Damn, did you do that? So you left Denver for a while. And you moved to San Diego, right?
I go to San Diego off and on.
All right, is that where you picked up bullfighting?
No, that was actually in Mexico.
Okay.
Spain.
I thought maybe it was in Globeville.
Yeah, actually, it was Globeville.
You know, behind the kind of Swansea, Globeville, where
Right
they
there,
have the
with the house, with the fence made out of car doors.
yeah.
Oh, Joe's pissed.
No, that shit's funny. How long has that been like that little behind the Swansea Rec Center? How long has that been going as far as being painted?
Man, dude, for a long time, bro. I can't even, 15 years, 10, 20
More than
years.
that, right?
Yeah. 20, 30 years. Damn. A long time. Swansea has its own little history, dog. Little underground history. That's like the last of the shady places in Denver to go. It still ain't leaving nowhere, but I'm
I would
saying.
say Karma City, but that's not
Karma City, too. If you ever want to kiss your old lady where it stinks, take her to Karma City.
The roads.
No, the roads, man. Fuck. But they ain't fucking with Karma City. They ain't changing it. They ain't redeveloping it.
Fuck.
You got potholes.
I don't know, dog. I mean, like, I kind of put gas there and fucking where the whole flea market used to be,
Yeah.
and the stadium where the Elway's fucking arena football shit.
Yeah.
It's all being built into townhouses, bro.
Yeah, well, they have that. It's called the Reunion. It's a new part. It's the new Karma City.
The newcomers.
Yeah.
You know what's
Well,
funny,
back
though?
then it used to be called Derby, Colorado. Derby before Karma City. It was Derby.
Mm-hmm.
And it was built on an old trash fields. So that's why the land's coming up.
Right.
What is Culver City? Like,
It's just a
what
trash land. Oh, it's just trash land.
It's all industrial. Yeah. You know what's kind of
We're not
funny,
supposed
dog?
to be living there.
No, we're not supposed to be living in Karma City.
Yeah.
Is when I heard that they put a cookies there, that kind of made me crack up.
Yeah.
No one did
they?
their research. Yeah, there's one right there on like it's fucking Quebec.
Yeah, I thought it was on Broadway.
Well, there's one there,
There's
but
one
I mean
on
they have
Broadway.
one in Commerce City, so it's like kind of the first one by the airport. You kind of see what I'm saying? But yeah, when I heard that, I was like, man, no one really did their research there. Because I get it's cheap, but that'd be the last place.
Yeah.
I put one by the airport. I put one in the airport. You know what I'm saying?
I totaled one of my cars in Karma City, just hitting a pothole, cracked my frame.
Damn.
Yeah,
I did too.
yeah, oh yeah,
I totaled my Mercedes there.
For real?
yeah. Well, while we were driving, and he hit a little pothole or something, and fucking airbags came out, dust flying around, or our arms are burning. I thought I
were
was
with
dead. Yeah, we were driving.
My insurance paid him out.
Yeah. Plus, I got some money from his insurance.
Oh damn.
Yeah, it was crazy. But fuck Karma City.
No. So you said you
It's
moved
good
to
for trains.
You moved to San Diego, and that's where you kind of picked up tattooing, right?
Well, I picked up tattooing here. I just would go out there to work, to tattoo out there. So I have friends out there and own shops or whatever, and I had a shop up here in Colorado, up in Thornton, and the building caught fire, and we were forced to close. So at that time, I had some friends in San Diego that was telling me over and over throughout that year to go work over there. So at that point, with the fire, I just picked up and left a month later, and went
so you
working
probably
out
got a
there.
little bit of bread, and you were able to relocate.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been going out there, and I love San Diego. I love it. There's some great art, great tattooing, graffiti. It's pretty nice.
What made you get into tattooing?
I always loved it, bro. I always loved it from when we were young kids, homie. Like we were like we grew up on like tribal gear and all that, in the early '90s and tribal gear being, with that company being responsible of putting Chicano tattooing on the map. As far as like mainstream was done through tribal, with Mr. Cartoon and Steve Soto, Carlos Torres, all these tattooers, I knew their names at like 14, 15 years old, 15, 16. Mm-hmm. And just by watching old tribal gear videos and all that shit and knowing, and I always loved tattooing, but I just never really jumped into it, I loved it or whatever. But, graffiti is a good, if you let it, graffiti is a good gateway into art. It's a good gateway, but fortunately, surprisingly, a lot of graffiti writers can't draw worth shit. They stay as slave to their name for all those years. They forget to have fun and get into art and doing all that. So I was blessed to continue my art and allowing graffiti to open up doors of just more art, fine art, and everything. So I got into tattooing a little later, And you know, with that, I was kind of forced into it because I was doing auto body at a young age, and then I just, you know, came to a point, man, where the company I worked for, they owed a lot of money to the state of Colorado with taxes or whatever. So they were really hard on paying me all my money. They would pay me in lump sums. Yeah. So that got old real quick, and after that, after getting laid off, I was just like, you know, my homeboys hitting me up, and they're like, "Hey, homie, why don't you start tattooing, dog? You need a tattoo." And I got into that, and it's great, bro. I mean, it's
And here we are, what, 10, 15 years later?
10 years later, you know. So, but it's good, man. It's I'm a part of that wave in the tattoo industry of these graffiti writers and new age people getting into the tattoo scene. And graffiti taught me a lot, you know. Taught me how to work with pressure. Taught me how to make something out of nothing. How to make it cool with a little bit of tricks or whatever.
Yeah,
and
a little pizzazz.
Yeah, a little pizzazz. So yeah, it was in between. It fell between the same guidelines on what I was doing anyway. It's just same shit, different pile. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So no, yeah, but I love it, man. It's great.
Hey, who are some of your influences as far as like graffiti wise and tattoo wise?
Oh man, I say graffiti for me at an early age would be like Zodak 1, Mirror 1, Catch 1. But you know, like Virus 1 and all these fools. But Zodak and Mirror and Catch were like some of my main influences when I was younger, you know, and just the approach that Zodak would have on highlights and things like that, you know, and Mirror being a true a graffiti artist, you know, a writer, graffiti artist, before it was called street art, you know, it was graffiti art, you know, it was, and Mirror. But yeah, no, they were my biggest influence. In tattooing, man, it's just so much, homie. Tattooing is like the way I feel about graffiti, like, you know, like just all the inspiration, you know, everything. But no, with tattooing, I don't know, there's so much influence in tattooing, homie. There's so much people out there that I look up to or whatnot. It's hard to say.
What do you specialize in? Do you have anything you specialize in as far as tattooing?
I like black and gray. I like biomechanical. I like textures and stuff like that. So I'm really getting more into my biomechanical shit, more into like a payerism. And that's something that I'm stepping into with
that
this.
Like some Terminator shit, it sounds like?
Yeah, like some Terminator shit, like, you know, just some shapes and well, like biomechanical. It started with an old artist called H.R. Geiger, the guy who did Aliens and all that. It stems from him, from his memories of being born, coming out the womb and in the womb. So his drawing style was what he could remember, these memories that were embedded in his brain, and it was basically the birth of biomechanical with him. Well, more bio, you know, but yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah,
that's dope. I was gonna ask, fuck. You know what I'm saying?
What's the best burrito spot?
Yeah, where's your favorite burrito spot in town?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Viva Burrito, homie.
Fish heads?
No, I heard about the fish heads, dog. I heard about the fish, and I want to know the story about the fish heads and the Viva Burrito.
There's really no story behind it. Like, I mean, I used to live fucking in Blairwood, fucking, I want to say apartments on fucking Pecos in 36.
Yeah.
And there's a Viva Burrito right there by the fucking...
That's my spot.
By the fucking Army surplus.
Yeah.
And just, we would eat it. And then just one day, my homie was like, you know, they make fish heads out of that shit.
Ah.
So when I was a kid, they had this video they played on Channel 12 called Fish Heads. Yeah. Fish heads, roly-poly fish heads. And it was like a garden full of fish heads.
Yeah.
And I just had a bad fucking fish head burrito one night, bro. And I'm like that person where if some shit fucking fucks with me that bad, like, I won't fuck with it again. Like, I love Panda Express, but that shit did me so dirty about 3, 4, 5 years ago. I haven't touched it since. And I thought about it like recently, like, damn, some orange chicken sounds good as fuck. And I was like, fuck no, I haven't been back since, bro. So
Viva Burrito had fish heads?
no, it's just cheap food. So that's when cheap food is fish heads, bro. It's kind of like the correlation. Like it's not necessarily fish heads, but who knows what the fuck that shit is.
But that's the way I feel about
So it was a term, basically.
But that's the way I feel about chubbies, homie.
See, I love chubbies.
But see, no matter how many times chubbies will fuck somebody over, like, you know, fuck us up, we'll go back.
Right.
We'll forget about that night. You know what I mean? And I'll order that shit.
See, I even went to Viva. I even went to Viva, bro. I tried to give it another chance, and I didn't get the steak burrito, but I was like, you can't fuck up fucking breakfast burritos,
dude.
And their breakfast burritos were like, oh,
Yeah,
they were
bad
like,
luck.
They were like, they're like a 5.
You know what,
they were
though?
even a 6, bro. Like,
You know what? But there's
I think they're pretty good.
yeah, there's tons of good burrito spots out there. You know, there's great, man. There's good ones nowadays. But you know, Viva Burrito's nice and clean, just cut. You know, not too much, not too crazy salsas or nothing. And I got a weak stomach, homie. If I can't be eating spicy shit, man. That's something I learned once I got into my mid-30s, homie. There's a lot of things I couldn't do, like eat cereal past midnight, dog. I'll start getting gas, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on, homie?
Shit.
Getting hot sauce, homie, will fuck my stomach up. So now I gotta be on my adult shit, homie. But Viva Burrito, it's, you know,
Homie Evan loves Viva, bro. Shout out,
it's
Evan.
good. Yeah, shout out to Evan. No, I love Viva Burrito.
What is like, you're born and raised like in Denver, what is like a Denver food, or like, you know what I mean, or what would be something or a place you would take someone from out of town
Chubbies.
besides Chubby's?
You know what, man? We have some good food, dog.
Would you
Like,
take them to your mom's for some tamales?
I would take him to my mom.
Italian restaurant.
I would take him to my mom, but there's some good Italian places, some good like Midwest, good ass like Mexican places with some great green chili, you know, all that. But you know, Colorado, we have some good food, bro. And as much as the more I travel, the more I realize that. I mean, I remember living in San Diego. It took me I went on a mission looking for a smothered burrito, homie. Like I went to a place and I was
finding that shit.
and I was like, can I have a smothered burrito? And they look at me like I farted or something, and they're like all puzzled, like what? And I'm like, so we got to it. It's called a wet burrito, and it's pretty much like some salsa on the burrito, but
It's
I'm
not even like the way it is here.
nah, homie. So, but with Denver, dog, like we have some great steaks, country fried steaks. I mean, you know, like I like eating seafood close to the ocean, and I like eating a steak where it smells like cow shit in that town. You know what I mean? Like it's
Really?
good shit. You know, and
You got the bomb steak.
they have to, dog. I smell that shit from here, homie. But we have some good food, dog. Like I think
Right
we have.
next to Nebraska too.
Yeah, I mean, we have some good, like some of that Midwest fucking good steak houses, and you know, good country fried steak. And
What about the weed though? Because you've been in Cali and you've been here. Who has the better weed?
bro, you know, we have some good weed, and but the difference that I known between the places is just getting high sea level. And I would be in San Diego and I would be smoking so much, and I'm like, damn, homie, I'm used to getting plastered. I'm, you know, getting to where I can't leave my couch, homie, where you feel like fuck. And I would keep smoking and smoking when I was living in San Diego, and I'm like, it's like I'm chasing that high, homie. And then my homie's like, well, you know, where you're from, homie, you're a mile high, dog. Like, you know, you get drunk a little bit harder, you get high a little easier. He goes, down here we're in sea level, dog, so it's a little different. But I like Colorado, homie. Like it's just some good weed up here.
All right. Hey, if you were stranded on the island, what 3 CDs would you take, bro?
Fuck.
Red Man, Muddy Waters, because there ain't that many reasons to skip, you know, and that.
That's one of my favorite CDs.
Fuck, dude, there's so many, bro. I maybe that Machiavelli, you know, and shit, maybe that Nas It Was Written, you know, that was a good city, or maybe some Big Pun. I'm not sure.
No, for sure.
I guess I'll probably just take a mixtape, homie. Maybe like, you know, some DJ Funk Flex or something.
That's what I say. Would
Have all of it in one.
Not, you know, I be talking to people, and they don't really know a lot about like like DJs and mixtapes. You know what I mean?
Well, that itself is a dying thing, bro. I mean, you know, I remember back in the day when you would buy a Echo sweater or something, Echo Unlimited, back in '96, you would get a free mixtape. And you know, and then there you had DJ Rectangle and all this shit. Yeah, man, it was
Tony Touch was
Tony
really dope.
Touch. You know, Tony Touch was tight, homie.
Capri, like
I had all of Tony Touch's shit, bro. Like,
Peacemakers.
yep. But yeah,
Flex
no,
was
kids,
good.
Funk Flex. Remember when the shit first came out?
Flex was tight, but he just talked too much.
He talked
bro.
too much, homie.
But his like fucking his blends and shit and his acapellas to instrumentals was fucking.
Remember that
on
first
point.
one with that Big Pun and
Yeah.
Fat Joe and Redman?
The Mob Deep to Wu Tang and fucking all that.
But see,
shit.
that's the whole thing we were talking about. Is back in the day compared to now is it was great back then, and that's why I continue doing what I'm doing, because I'm still riding on that energy, homie. You know, when hip hop was good, man, when graffiti was good. I remember like when you go driving around, like I remember visiting LA back in the day. I would visit LA and you would see some burners, bro. You would see some sick shit out in the corner up high, somewhere behind a billboard. Like, and it don't have to be wild. It was some like, it could be some straight letters done correctly with a little bit of spikiness to it.
Right.
And now, you know, you could go, like for me, it seems so bland now. And I'm not just speaking on LA, but just in graffiti and like around. It's you don't drive around and see shit that like
you don't
makes
see Koze pieces.
No, and you don't see a lot of that where people, I guess, care about what they're doing, like being in love with graffiti. You know, sometimes people just do, and this goes with tattooing and anything like that. Some people just do it because it's the next best thing. Some people do graffiti because they don't know where to fit in a social thing, man. Maybe, and graffiti gives them a little bit of a voice, you know, and you know, and people don't really care about it that much nowadays. Back then, you know, you had people risking it all, man, just to do something proper. But that's the thing about graffiti, bombing or whatever. There's a difference. There's a difference between being noticed and being respected. Like you could go do a bubble maybe 1,000 times over everywhere, something that just, you know, whatever, you're noticed. You know, somebody sees you, they're like, hey, man, you're that guy? Damn, you be getting up. But when you take each spot and push it, you live forever. Like Ayer one and all of them, you know, him being an icon of somebody who took graffiti and took it to the next level of painting on the side of bridges and painting in these areas that you're on a little 3-inch thing, painting a 4 or 5 color piece high, and him being gone since the late 90s, nobody forgets that.
Right.
You know, so you don't have a lot of that now.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm surprised that no one has kind of ran with that, because graffiti's kind of lax right now. They're not really tripping too much.
I think
so. You think someone would be like, I'm gonna start burning like just spending that time?
Well, there is cats out there. There's a lot of dudes out there.
The only ones I could think of, and I don't know anyone by names, but I think of like the Billboard cats in like L.A. They do the Hollywood. Like, they burn that shit. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, I think during the pandemic and everything, we have a lot of pandemic graffiti, and
fuck.
you know, during that whole shutdown, we had a lot of that. But I think graffiti's getting back on track. I like where it's at now. You know, I like how a lot of crews are rebuilding, and you do see a little bit.
It's definitely coming back.
You see a little, it is coming back, and that's good because I feed off of that shit. You know, I don't hate on nobody trying to do their thing. I just want people to push themselves so I could feed off that shit.
And one thing I want to say too, bro, is it's definitely like a two-way street, man. We're not talking shit about the youngsters.
Yeah.
Y'all need to be willing to learn, and we need to be willing to teach.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I honestly kind of say, you know, like y'all, the youngsters, y'all need to put your guard down. Y'all don't know everything.
Yeah.
Real talk. You know what I mean? The internet's not the world, bro.
No.
You could be doing so much more, and you know. Same thing with the old cats. I know we get to be, how do you say, grumpy butt sometimes, but fucking show motherfuckers some shit. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I
exactly.
mean? Don't be afraid to learn, both of y'all.
Exactly. I try to, you know, like I was saying earlier, you know, I always try to show love and to teach anybody that's around me, or just push them. And even if I have to lead by an example or whatever, You know, but yeah, there ain't no hating on no young kids or anything like that, man. I love
Even with the music too.
Yeah, with the music,
especially in the
everything.
music, you know.
Well, just like we were saying, you know, how they don't put a lot of effort in it. They use a lot of old samples, old even verses, like redoing somebody's verse. You know, I would hear a song on the radio and I would think it was one song that I heard back in the day, but it's some other cat. I'm like, is this a remix or something? But nah, they don't know how to create. Well, it's just in hip hop, I think too many people are trying to reheat pizza instead of trying to cook something fresh. And I think that shit's stale, homie. And I think if you're going to give something your all, homie, push yourself, dog. Just like I was telling a young homeboy, I was using that what is that, 8 Mile movie with Eminem. I was using that as a reference of when Eminem was on the bus, dissecting the dictionary and writing all these words that combine together, just practicing, building up his muscle memory. And I was telling this homeboy that he should be doing that with his graffiti, homie. He should be having a piece of paper, a little sketchbook, and doing like 100 R's, different R's on how you could do it, even if it's your pieces or your takes, but having that love as like a battle MC on that.
Practice.
Yeah,
Man.
practice. And if you do that, man, repeatedly, your muscle memory, you're going to get better. And that's where you separated people who are in graffiti because it's the next thing, or somebody that's in it because they really love it. And that's the key to why I'm irrelevant and I'm going to keep doing this shit for until my last breath, is because I'm on that structure of pushing myself, and I don't have an ego. I mean, like an ego will create a learning disability, homie, because you don't want to try no more. You feel like you know everything.
Yeah, you think you're at top already.
Yeah, me, I just feel like I'm just getting started on some other shit, you know, and I'm very blessed.
Hell yeah. Hey, throughout your years, do you have any kind of crazy chase stories? Running from the police, doing some graffiti?
Yeah, I mean, we had a few, you know, fucking, but nothing ones that really stick out really that much. I mean, I remember this one time when it was me, Koze, and Preach, when we got chased up in LA in like 2002 or 3. And I remember getting split up. We were on the 405 and we're hitting a spot, and we were supposed to stay with the homeboy, and we couldn't get a hold of him. So we decided just to bomb and not get a hotel and bomb till the sun came up. Right. And then we'll figure out what we're going to do next. So anyway, we just arrived in LA, couldn't get a hold of the homeboy we were supposed to connect with, so we ended up bombing. And one of the spots we hit, a cop came and shined his light, so we all split and we all ran in different directions. And I'm in the back of this house. I hopped this fence. I'm in this like house business. It was like a house, like a dentist or something. Right. And so Koze comes up, and we're kind of like kneeled down. And then we just, you know, sat for a while. Then we just figured we'd just get up and just leave. And we got out and we started walking in this neighborhood, and we heard a bunch of whistles, and we turned around and I just seen a bunch of cholo fools, bro, like deep, homie. And I was just like, fuck, homie. So we started running and we just ran up the block, and here came Preach out of nowhere, just came in his whip, and he came right in front of us, and he goes, get in. And we hopped in, and we were like, fuck yeah, homie, this shit's tight. But, you know, that's just, it's always stories, homie. There's so many stories, but
that gang shit down there's real.
It's real, homie. Like it's just a whole different thing, man. You know.
You ever have any episodes with like the cops as far as boosting?
Nah, bro. Like we got away most of the time. You know, like 98% of the time, but nah. There was this time though, like a couple of the. There was this time we had took a bunch of Gore-Tex jackets from a big Gore-Tex jacket store out here or whatever, and it was me, Preach, a couple other homeboys. Yeah, so it was me, Preach, and a couple other homeboys, and we walk in, and we walk in separate or whatever, and shit, man, this was probably like 20 years ago, and so I start making my stack of coats, homie. I'm getting parkas, I'm getting heated up vests, I'm getting all this. I remember there's this little white dude with his girlfriend, and they were looking at jackets, and I remember him telling his lady, he's like, damn, this is nice, and she's like, $480? Get real or whatever. And I overheard it, so I went over there and I grabbed each color of that jacket and stuck it in my pile, and then Preach gave the word, so we grabbed our piles and started walking to the back of this store, to the emergency exit. and my homeboy Ciro, he ended up having the bear mace, so he pulled it out, and we hit the door, and the alarm's going off, but the door didn't open, and then so we're fucking pushing the door, and Preacher's like, get the mace, home, and then so homeboy had the mace out, waiting for the first worker to come around that corner to the back, and by that time, the door opened. It was one of those 15-second lock things that you push the button, 15 seconds, it gets unlocked, so we end up stepping over the homeboy Yesco, who end up, falling or whatever, because we rushed the back door. We hopped in the truck. We picked up Preacher's car, met up at my pad, homie, and we end up having, I think it was close to like 45 G's in jackets.
God,
and my whole family, till to this day, my family's laced up in those jackets. They have every little thing, because we felt like we were Robin Hood, homie, like, doing that. And, man, it was just so, it was just being in control of the situation and knowing that you could do anything you put your mind to, homie.
Right. Were you guys racking paint too, or were you racking
We're racking paint.
Shit?
Oh, paint.
Selling it to get paint.
Paint. No, paint was the backbone. You know what I mean? Like, that's something we're getting paint, but all the other shit is just to have nice shit, and it's to make some money too. Because half the shit I was taking was made for skinny fools. You know what I mean? And back then I was a chunky motherfucker, and I couldn't wear that Armani or nothing like that. It was their double X's are really mediums. You know what I mean? So I was hustling that and whatnot, but a lot of people around the area, they seen what we were doing and they wanted to hop on. They wanted to act like they were doing it, but we were the team doing it.
Hey, half price is lovely, bro.
Oh, it was all half price, homie.
Half price steaks, half price
Steaks, all that. Hey,
weed.
homie, we would do everything. We would walk out of the grocery stores with our little carts or our little buckets full of like rotisserie chickens and all that shit. And it was funny, homie, because at the height of it, I remember we would be driving, dog, and Preach at the time, he would like pull over real quick when we're driving. He'll pull over to a Wendy's, go in the drive-thru, and he'll be thirsty, and he'll say, hey, I got a pop here, or my meal, my pop was flat, and I'm really mad about this, blah blah blah. And they would give us a whole meal and a new soda, and we're sorry, and then we just keep driving off the drive-thru, and it was like simple. I was like, man, this shit's tight, homie, but it was you could do anything you want, dog. You put your mind to it.
Bro,
gift the gab, homie. It's a real thing, dog, and just your perspective on things, homie, is you could get away with it when you put your mind to it, dog, and you realize that, the real do what they want and the weak do what they can, homie. So I ain't going to sit there and let people tell me what I could do, what I can't do. Even in graffiti, homie, like, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to have my pieces look the way they want to look, I'm not trying to follow what's cool in graffiti this year and what's cool with it last year. And I know one year drippy halos were in, and one year shadows on the bottom of your bubbles are in, and instead, homie, it's just like, if this fool and this fool and this fool's pieces all look the same, then what the fuck am I doing here for, homie? Let these fools do graffiti. I'll go fucking play golf, homie, or go raise fucking ostriches or something. You know what I mean?
Roasters like Cleto.
Yeah, but I ain't about that, homie, and I'm about growing and not following. So, yeah, same shit.
Hell yeah, bro. Well, shit, man.
Hey, right on, Joe.
It's been a long night,
been a good time, homie.
Hell yeah. Do you want to drop them your Instagram so they can check you out about tattooing and all that? Or
well, just check me out at Payer_Slayer, homie. And if you have any questions about any tattooing or whatever, just slide in my DMs or whatever. And if you want to get some payerism on you, bro, like change that leg into something, homie, that hasn't been seen before, you just hit me up, dog, and I'm gonna put that same energy into my tattooing that's in graffiti, homie. So yeah, just slide in my DM or whatever, and we'll get it cracking.
Hell yeah. Well, shit, there you have it, man. Definitely appreciate you stopping on by. We had a dope conversation.
Right on, Joey. I'll see you next time, homie. We're going to do another one once a month, bro. We're going to do a bullshit one.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do that shit. All right, well, shit, we're out of here. You can find us on all platforms. Later.
Yeah.